This is a review of set 75451, the Hutt Palace and Sentry Droid Showdown. This set has 415 pieces with a retail price of $50. It has 4 figures in this build, 2 stickers as well as an instruction manual and 4 different bags. Here's what everything looks like all together. Of course, I'm going to start with the 4 minifigs. The first one being Grogu. This one is the newer mold, as well as having that new print in the center with that shiny Beskar symbol from his chest plate, which looks very, very nice and is also the cheapest way to get this one, I believe. So that is also very, very nice to get that new mold. I mean, basically perfect for Grogu. While I'm at it, I'll also take a look at Din Djarin because he also appears in a bunch of other sets. Not the cheapest way to get this version of the figure, but one of the best ones. You get footprint, hip print, arm printing, basically completely perfected this figure. It would be nice to get the hairpiece once in a while in some sets, but it's not something I'm going to go crazy on. Maybe it would have been really, really cool to actually get his sniper rifle, which is literally just 2 extra pieces, and it was one of my favorite scenes when he was actually battling this Sentry droid. It's really a shame why they don't use those 2 pieces. Just upgrade the set just so much in general. There's also a lot of other accessories that I'm going to talk about a little bit later when we get later into the figure lineup that they should have included, but the ambient sniper rifle would have been really, really, really cool to add, and it's so simple to add to make this figure, I guess, model altogether really a lot better. The next figure sort of is Kaibu, which is Embo's dog that we get to see in the movie. Technically, it's not a dog, but obviously it sort of resembles it mold-wise. It is, first thoughts when I actually got it out of the bag was that it is actually huge and a lot bigger than I thought it would be. Compared to Din Djarin, he's obviously not as tall, but he definitely is, if you lay him out, a lot taller, which is absolutely crazy. It is definitely very, very big, which he was in the movie, but a lot bigger than I thought it would be. They did very well on the printing, everything. It definitely looks like intimidating, also cute at the same time, if that makes any sense. But his black mane here is sort of the same rubbery material as what we see in the back, which I wouldn't really call it Grogu's material. I feel like it's a little bit more firm, I guess, on this mold specifically, but I feel like they did a good job to sort of prevent it from breaking, but also not have it move around all the time. Of course, that's not really a huge problem. I guess the big problem would be the stretch marks. I guess if there's any white lines from being bent, I don't think this really rubber material will let that happen. There's also a stud up top, which I would love, which I probably will do this with the display, to put Grogu on the top here, which he fits literally nice and snug, and it is a very cool part in the scene, so I'll probably keep him like this for the rest of the time I look at the figures. And the final one is Embo. Probably the main reason why you're getting this set, one of the main reasons why I did, and this figure looks amazing. It was very, very close to being my top tier when I was ranking all these figures from the wave. We do get to see him with his stud shooter crossbow, which we haven't seen that piece in a while. I was thinking it was retired, because last time we saw it probably was some Chewbacca, a little bit after 2020, I believe, is when the piece really popped off, and they're using stud shooters and stuff like that. So definitely a little crazy why they're using this. I mean, I think that the actual mold of the crossbow is been used after, but I guess they're really prioritizing play, but it is actually pretty massive, so I'll take this away so I can actually look at the figure. It has some very nice toe printing there, hip printing, leg print looks absolutely amazing there, and only 1 printed arm, which is something weird that they're doing with the Mandalorian sets. I feel like in the Imperial Shuttle, there's 2 figures that only have 1 arm printing, and now Embo. It's just very weird. I don't know why they're doing this. It's just very, very weird. I don't know why. They could, basically with all the figures that they're only doing 1 arm printing, they could do both. I feel like they're somebody high up in the Lego office was like, how should we save money? And then one employee thought, oh, what if we only print on one of the arms? And it's just very, very weird. I don't think it would be saving them too much money. It would upgrade the figure so much, because now if you ask us of arm printing, I would personally say yes, but I mean, does it really? Because they didn't go all the way with the arm printing, which kind of sucks, but the rest of the torso print is very, very nice, front as well as at the back here, and also get a nice little shoulder pauldron here, which is very nice to have that spiky shoulders to add a little bit of some extra detail. I will remove the hat so you can see Embo a little bit better, which I think he looks very nice. I know some people definitely want him to have sort of a bigger collar, which they'd probably have to sacrifice the spiky shoulders for that, which I don't think they should have done. And also has a back face print, which looks very nice. And of course, that printed disc on the head, which looks very, very nice. And definitely a very good figure. This is one of the sets that I wanted to have while watching the movie. Definitely wanted to have a little fight between Embo and Mando, but to really get that fight with Embo and Mando, the crossbows and the blasters aren't really working. Some stuff that would work are these ice pick pieces, which I was able to pick out from my collection. These ones are a lot nicer. I believe they've been used in a couple city sets, but they definitely represent what Embo had in the movie a lot better. I know a lot of other people were adding it to their Embo figures, or I guess their previous Embo figures from the Clone Wars to represent it. That would have been a lot nicer. Maybe even a molded crossbow, like I mentioned before, would have been a little bit nicer. I would have loved to have a bag of accessories. And while we're at it, why not just give Mando a sword? Just that nice molded short sword, which I believe was in a GWP not long ago, so definitely still is a piece they could use. Would have upgraded the set a lot better, focused more on that duel between them two, and I feel like it would be a lot better to have sort of melee accessories rather than just more blasters. The first bag is literally all of the Hutt Palace, which is actually the first thing they say in the name of the set. I know a lot of people aren't happy about it, but I definitely was hoping they'd do something with the doors, but of obviously not this small. It seemed like this giant Sentry droid would be able to fit through it, but obviously it can't. I don't think it's horrible, but I mean, it was a little bit fun to actually build. I like all the dark gray and dark tan that they used. Definitely a nice color combination. But as far as sticker wise, there's one sticker on the droid, which I'll get into later, which think is completely unnecessary, and this no like print at all, no sticker, no print at all, would have been perfectly fine. And then this could have just been a print at this point. I mean, it would have been definitely a lot nicer, but overall door build's nice. You can fit some figures through. Nothing really crazy for the door. It's sort of just a background piece at this point to really represent the Hutt Palace in the background. But now, of course, for the main build, which is absolutely crazy. I mean, this one looks very bulky, definitely not like the Boba Fett mech, which a lot of people were comparing it to. It definitely has a lot more dark green and overall gray and other colors like that, but I'll just start with the bottom. There's so much detail in here all together. You get that posable feet, sort of basically just like the normal mech positions, but there is a lot more greebling, a lot more detail. But in some places, I feel like they could have added a little bit more greebling and some more detail overall. But I feel like it definitely gets the job done. You got the mech arm as well as the hand, which is basically the same on the other side. But this specific clip is a circular based clip, I guess you could say. So you can sort of rotate the thumb to grab Mando, or I guess technically Embo, but probably not. A little bit better, maybe even Grogu, a little bit better in the play that you're having with this set. But of course there is a center arm, which looks very, very weird when building it, but I feel like now it looks a little better. I mean, of course it's actually in the movie, so it'd be weird for like a not to include it, but it is just kind of weird sitting there. So, and it's also kind of weird doing stuff. It's just weird altogether, which I feel like is just a design choice from Star Wars and not Lego, so I'm not really going to critique that. But the main flaw with this is that there is a giant satchel here, which looks very, very nice. Nothing wrong with that. But they felt the need to add a sticker on the side, which obviously it's not on. It would go like this, but it doesn't really rest like that. It just doesn't really, I mean, you could put it like this, but even if you put it like this, it's not really worth the effort to actually put on the sticker. It really doesn't make any sense. Maybe they just didn't want to have only one sticker in the set, which I feel like they've done one stickers in sets before. I don't know why they just didn't include one sticker for the Hutt Palace like door. I feel like I would have been way more fine with that. I would have rather had that just be a print, but I feel like I would have been a little bit more fine with that. But also we have the head here, which can rotate back and forth. It looks just a little bit, but not really anything too crazy. So, of course, the main body is going to be basically the thing that's going to rotate to actually look at someone. But it's just that little detail there that you can rotate a little bit. And I believe one of these panels actually removes. So if we take a look at the very, very detailed back, I do want to also mention, no idea what this teal piece is doing in the back. No really relevance. I don't think it's actually teal in the back. Literally the only thing you could have done with that is just honestly remove it altogether, replace it with like a different piece altogether. I don't think it's actually worth it to do that. It really just doesn't make sense at all. But I believe you can lift off one of these panels here like this, and is actually attached with that wire, so I guess it won't really like fall off completely. And I believe you can actually have Grogu inside of there, so we're taking off Embo's dog. You can fit him in there, sort of just for that play, I guess. If you're actually playing with him, you can fit him in here, and I believe you can actually close it back in, so you can sort of hide Grogu in there if you don't want people to take your Grogu. If that's really what you want, I guess you could hide him in there, which fits definitely very nice. I don't think there's any pressure on that ear, but if it is, it still is rubber. There's also a little lever, I'm assuming is what it is, which you can pull it a little bit down, a little bit up, which I think is just for that play for Droid to sort of have that resemblance of him doing the button or whatever, the lever, to actually shut down the droid altogether. Overall, it's a nice build. I mean, it does the job. It's definitely very nice greebling and everything. And when I look at this, I think maybe $35, $40-ish dollars. But when I put these guys in, I mean, $50 isn't horrible. If you don't want to get it, I understand why, but honestly, there's no reason to really hate on this set. I love the Mandalorian and Grogu. I love the Mandalorian in general. And the overall, this set is honestly absolutely amazing. There's some details they could have done a little bit differently, or at least I would have personally done a little bit differently. But honestly, nothing really crazy. I mean, it's definitely a very good set. Nothing wrong with it. I mean, there is some stuff, but honestly, at the end of the day, I think it's just very small, that it would have overall improved the quality of the set. Maybe would have looked at it a little better with that $50 range, I guess, for like a lot of other people. But I mean, $50 is pretty good.